Hello and welcome back to Dirty Harry. My name is Jordan. I am your host. So today is completely unscripted. I was literally just doing my makeup and decided to do this. If you've clicked on this episode, then you know this is about my story. And this is part 1. So I need to be extremely clear. This is your warning. This is your trigger warning. This is every warning that I can give you. There is going to be talks of sexual misconduct. There is going to be talks of drug use. This is my real life story and it is my experience. And unfortunately, it is not pretty. It is not PG. It is, to me, it was my version of hell. So I need to make sure that you are explicitly prepared to listen to this. I was not going to do this today, but usually when I have an idea, if something comes to me and makes sense and I can do it, I always feel that it's come to me for a reason. So I am going to talk about the first part of my life from 13 probably until mid-20s, and it is going to be real and it is going to be raw. If you are related to me in any which way, the only people that know everything about me is my mother and my husband. So if you do not want to know what I've gone through, don't listen to this. You're good. You're okay. We all have that out there now. I'm going to say again, thank you so much for being here. I am so happy that you are here. My name is Jordan Lynn. I'm your host of the Dirty Harry podcast, and I'm here to help you live lives that you love. I'm here to help you grow your freedom-based business, but today is all about, oh my God, I almost feel like I'm going to throw up. Okay. So around 13 years old, I entered high school, and I was never popular. I never fit in, and I can't pinpoint why. And obviously when we get to high school, that's all we want is to just fit in. Like, don't notice me. Just let me, it's almost like just let me have a good time doing my time and let's just get through this. But I was bullied I switched schools because I was being bullied so much. And I want to say like my middle school, it was horrible. Girls are so mean. And I can only imagine what it is like now. Like, what did we have? I'm 34, right? So what did we have back then? I was being bullied on MSN Messenger. I was being bullied at school. And then when you get home, you're also being bullied at school. And now people have so much more access to you than we did before. And we've seen the horrors of what happens when people are habitually bullied. It was fucking horrible. I hated waking up. I hated going to school. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. So I got into high school, and you know what? You are going to find your people. And I found some people that did like me, that did accept me. And unfortunately, these people didn't make the best choices or wanted to experiment, I guess is the best way that I can say it. And I've never been overweight. I've never been skinny. I've always been like a really cool medium, but I've always hated my body, and I've always had a really horrible relationship with food. At this point, I'd like smoked pot a couple times and whatever, like I was already smoking. I would have been 13, 14, 15, I guess, would be the ages that this is happening. And please excuse me if I don't remember everything. I don't remember exactly because I do feel that my brain has compartmentalized a lot of the things that I've gone through. I was approached, I don't know, like my girlfriend's like, hey, do you want to do E this weekend? Which is ecstasy, which I think now is like, I don't even know if you can get that now. Like later on in life, I just started doing MDMA. So, and I was like, oh. And she's like, yeah, Jordan, you'll love it. Like you'll feel so good. You'll be up all night and you'll lose like 5 pounds in a day. And she was like, we can go to this all ages club. It's going to be great. So for me, in my mind and where I was in life, it was like, oh my gosh, this really pretty girl wants to hang out with me this weekend. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to, go to this nightclub with these people and it's going to be amazing. And I think that was like the beginning of the end, right? Because I do have a very addictive personality. I don't know where it came from, but that's kind of where that's my first memory. And we would do what high school kids do. I would tell my parents that I was going to somebody's house for a sleepover, and we would go to the person's house whose parents had the least amount of rules. We would go to all ages nightclubs and do ecstasy on the weekends in high school when like I don't even know what I should have been doing. So from there, it just snowballed into my life. But obviously I was still never happy. It was all a facade. It was all what I thought I wanted. We know now that I talked about confidence in episode 2. Like I had zero confidence, but at that age you don't know what really builds that. So then it really snowballed. Like I was dating somebody who wasn't even in high school, who was so much older than me, had his own place. We're now drinking every weekend. I'm in bars that I shouldn't be in. I'm downtown Toronto. Same thing, like listening to DJs not of age by any stretch of the imagination. And what turned into a huge cocaine addiction. And then my parents divorced. My mom moved to a place called Gravenhurst, Ontario. And that's where it all became so much worse. So much worse. I'm really also trying to be vague because it's not my place to tell anyone else's story or to expose anyone else if they don't want these things out in the public. So I didn't go to Gravenhurst High, but I went to a different high school. Same thing. I feel like when you're already, I don't know, like you're at the smoking section, I feel like when you're doing drugs, you just like admit like, I don't know, an odor or so. I honestly don't know, but same thing, like you're going to attract what you attract, right? So same thing, fell into a I don't like calling it the bad group because they're not bad people. That's the thing, or the wrong crowd. I don't like that because I'm not a bad person. I just happen to do these things. So yes, with a similar group of people, I started dating a drug dealer. And this is the path that I went down. So I am now doing cocaine. I don't know when I was at this high school. I want to say maybe 16, 17. I would have dropped out at 17. I was doing cocaine every single weekend. I was doing cocaine at school. I was getting into fights. I just spiraled out of control. And then I met this group of people. It just went farther and farther and farther. And I was already so addicted. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these people are older than me and they want to hang out with me. And I'm already so far fucking gone. More cocaine. And then one day, okay, so I'm trying to get through like the high school part because it pretty much is, I just dropped out of high school and was doing a bunch of blow all the time. And it wasn't that horrible as of yet, but so I met this person and they told me, hey, listen, I don't want to, if you cook it, it's way better. And I said, sure. And from that moment on, I was addicted to crack. It was free-based cocaine, I guess, and crack is a little bit different. I'm not trying to get into the fucking science of things, but I left Bracebridge, moved, tried to get a job, but still now we're just doing drugs all the time and like anything. Anything. We worked at a bar above Comfort Zone downtown Toronto. If you know, you know. It is an after hours club. I still was like, this is still all before 19. I am not legal age to do jack shit. We were bartending there, and it was every single night, all the drugs, all the time. K, G, MDMA, cocaine, oxys, like whatever there was, it did not matter. Now I'm just high 24/7, and I don't even know what the fuck is going on. Now, this is what I mean, because I get confused in my timeline, because I think me and this person had a falling out. I moved back up north, and I started waitressing at a strip club. I think something subsided, like I would be drinking and doing blow, but I don't think I was doing like as much partying. And then I met a human being who worked at this strip club and said, hey, like, why don't you move back downtown? I have a room that you can rent, X, Y, and Z. So I said, okay. And I moved downtown, and I think, like, my parents, when we talk about my parents, like, where the fuck were your parents this whole time? If you know me, at the time, like, I was an extremely good manipulator, but also I did not give a fuck. Like, I didn't care. You couldn't stop me. So I ended up moving, and I ended up just working at a strip club as a stripper. And me and this person reconnected. And it just got so bad that we were still going out and we were still doing these things, but it was no longer I could hold a job. It was no longer I could do anything. All of a sudden, it was like it happened so quickly that I was now living on the streets. Before I was 19 years old. And the only thing that mattered was getting high. And now that I'm a mother, that would be my biggest fear for my son to slip. Sorry. Because it does happen so quickly. Like, one day I'm just trying things out, and then the next I'm 95 pounds in some random fucking apartment with I don't even know who, like, and why do we not have the wherewithal to be like, you're in danger. You are putting yourself in such danger. Oh my God. I talk about my story all the time, so I don't know why this is happening. I think because I'm like thinking about, I know I still know that smell of that crack apartment, stairwells that I slept in, the parks, all of it. It was horrible. When I tell you that, to me, that this was hell on earth to be a homeless young woman because of all the things that I've gone through. So I am homeless on the streets, doing whatever I can. And it wasn't like doing whatever I could to survive. Like, I don't know if it was like that. I don't know if I ever felt like that. I don't remember. The only times I remember being afraid is at night. Obviously, I didn't sleep in a shelter. At this point in my life, my dad and I did not really have a relationship. A police officer I remember being interviewed by 2 police officers, and they were taking down, I have a lot of tattoos, they were taking down the markings that I had because they got a hold of my dad or my uncle somehow, with my cell phone that they had found. I honestly, I don't know. But I remember being in this fucking crack apartment building and police officers coming to talk to me. And they were like, what are you doing? Like, why are you hanging out here? Like, what, like, you're a young, pretty girl. Like, what's going on here? Like, come with us. Like, we can, like, literally, like, actually wanted to help me. And I said no. And they said, okay, well, we need to take down every single tattoo that you have as a identifying marker. And I was like, well, why? And they're like, in case we find you dead, like in case you show up dead, we'll know that it's you. And even still, that did nothing. You don't care. You're like, yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna show up dead, I'm fine. My dad and his wife came and found me. And I think it was a van or an SUV that I got into with them. And some woman ran up to my dad's car and screamed in the window and said, you have to take her out of here. These streets are going to eat her up alive. We went to Tim Hortons. I think I ate like a fucking cow. But like I said, me and my dad didn't have really a relationship. So I don't think that like, I don't know what he was expecting to do, or I don't know if he had a plan. So I think he just dropped me off and called my mom. There was a person who I was very attached to at this time, and my mom's boyfriend, who she was with at the time, they were like, we can't go down there with no plan. So they contacted this individual, and if they didn't bring this person, I don't think I would have gone with them either. So, you know, in hindsight, it was really smart of them. And I think I was coming back from a soup kitchen, and I don't know how long they had been looking for me. Like I said, I am going to have my mother on this podcast, and we can ask her. She might have more memory than I do. But all of a sudden, I think they walked out of a coffee time, and I saw them, and it was like all the air from my chest had just been taken from me. And I just like turned a corner, right? We're in like a shopping plaza, and we're at the end store. And I just like turned the corner and like put my back up against the wall. And I remember this person dropping their coffee. And sorry, I almost dropped my mic. And he just like cupped my face in his hands, and he said, please just get in the car. You don't have to live like this anymore. And I don't know if I was told like we were just going for lunch or what was like really happening. But I did. I got in the car, and I slept the whole way to a place called Trois Rivières. And that was where I was dropped off in the middle of the night to a Scientologist rehab. And I cannot go into that part because we are already at 25 minutes, and that's kind of like my cap, and I don't think I can continue on because the rehab, the person that I met in the rehab and then after rehab are also like its own chunk. So like I wish I could tell you that I went to rehab and it worked and I came out so wonderful on the other side. But it's not that it didn't work, I just didn't give it the opportunity to work. So, but by the end of the next episode, I clean up and I make one of my big transformations. So, But what does this have to do with who I am now and business? And I always feel that the reasons I can take so many leaps and so many chances and fully believe in myself when it comes to these things is because I'm here now today. I am alive. I have battled drug addiction. I have overcome crazy trauma. And if my worst case scenario that we've talked about before, that I've talked in my content before, is that I have to go back to waiting tables. Oh, so I'm not gonna be homeless on the streets being assaulted by drug dealers. That's not the worst case scenario, then okay. Then why don't we just try? And what's the worst case scenario? My post flops? What's the worst case scenario if I do this thing? Oh, it's not me going back there. Then I can continue moving forward. Then this is an okay decision. And for me, like, going through everything has given me grit. It's given me tenacity. It's given me, like, maybe even a false feeling of, like, if you can do this, you can do fucking anything kind of thing, right? And that's kind of how I live life. Because people are like, oh my gosh, Jordan, like, you have a family, you have this, you have that. Yeah, I do. And I would never put them at risk, and I would never do anything to hurt them. And I always will make sure that they are safe and they are okay. But me starting a business, the worst case scenario is I got to go back to corporate. The worst case scenario isn't anything like the hell and the fucked up shit that I've already been through. But you know what? It could also turn out to be so fucking amazing. And it did. Okay. So that is like part 1 of my story. You can ask any questions. I will try and answer them. As I said, I really do feel like my brain, that's probably why this episode's like all over the place. I tried to go as chronologically as I could, but I do feel that my brain has compartmentalized a lot of things that I've gone through. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really didn't know how I was going to do it, but here we are. I would be super grateful if you could leave a review, leave your questions. I would love to answer. Email me your questions at hello@jordanlynn.ca, and I would love to have a Q&A podcast episode. Okay, I'm just going to sign off. And we're just going to go. Thanks again. And I'll see you in the next episode.